Logically, our world is governed by the laws of probability. The likelihood of something happening can usually be calculated. However, there are several moments in history where these numbers seem forced into an irrational synchronization. These events are not just mere coincidences, they are systemic anomalies we call unthinkable realities. Today, we will dissect 10 historical coincidences so accurate that your logic will scream, "This is impossible." We will see how reality occasionally experiences a system crash and repeats the same files over and over. Prepare your detective logic. Let's break them down one by one. Lincoln versus Kennedy, the presidential copy-paste protocol. We begin with the most legendary coincidence that often give people chills: Lincoln and John F. Kennedy. Both were elected to Congress in 1846 and 1946, exactly a 100-year gap. Both became president in 1660 and 1960. The logic is, both were shot on a Friday, in the head, while accompanied by their wives. But what causes your logic to error is the names of their secretaries. Lincoln's secretary was named Kennedy, who warned him not to go to the theater. And Kennedy's secretary was named Lincoln, who warned him not to go to Dallas. Their successors? Both were Southerners named Johnson, born in 1808 and 1908. Your POV? You see history as if watching a movie remade exactly 100 years later just to save on production costs. This isn't just a coincidence, it's a high-level chronological glitch. Titanic versus Futility novel, prediction protocol or reality plagiarism. In 1898, an author named Morgan Robertson wrote a novel titled Futility. The novel told the story of the largest ship ever built, deemed unsinkable, which eventually hit an iceberg in April and sank due to a lack of lifeboats. The name of the ship? The Titan. 14 years later, in 1912, the Titanic suffered the exact same fate. The names were nearly identical, the weight was nearly identical, the speed was nearly identical, and even the location of the iceberg was similar. Your POV? You are reading a work of fiction, then 14 years later, that book turns into the main headline in newspapers worldwide. Is this the logic of prediction, or did the universe intentionally mimic a fictional work because it ran out of other disaster scenarios? This is a reminder that reality is often stranger than fiction. Mark Twain and Halley's Comet, the star-bound arrival and departure protocol. Mark Twain, the legendary American author, was born in 1835 exactly as Halley's Comet passed through the sky. In 1909, Twain remarked, "I came in with Halley's Comet and I expect to go out with it next year." And guess what happened? In 1910, exactly as Halley's Comet returned to pass near Earth, Mark Twain passed away from a heart attack. The logic is synchronicity. Mark Twain seemingly had an exclusive contract with this celestial body. Your POV? You look at a comet's transit schedule and realize your death date is already written there. Mark Twain dictates our logic that human lives are sometimes synced with a cosmic clock scaled billions of kilometers above our heads. Tsutomu Yamaguchi, the two-atomic bomb outlier survival protocol. On August 6, 1945, Tsutomu Yamaguchi was in Hiroshima for business when the first atomic bomb fell. He survived despite severe injuries. The next day, he returned home to rest. Where was his home? In Nagasaki. On August 9th, as he was describing the horrors of the Hiroshima bomb to his boss, the second atomic bomb fell directly over Nagasaki. Miraculously, he survived again. The logic is statistical anomaly. The odds of an individual being at 2 nuclear impact points within 3 days and surviving until the age of 93 are virtually zero. Your POV? You feel like the unluckiest person for being bombed twice, but you realize you are the luckiest because the system of death failed to delete you twice in a row. Yamaguchi is a bug in the system of mass destruction. Violet Jessop, the Miss Unsinkable protocol. If there is one person you should avoid when boarding a ship, it's Violet Jessop. She was a nurse aboard the Olympic when it collided with a warship in 1911. She survived. In 1912, she worked on the Titanic when it sank. She survived again. In 1916, she was working on the Britannic when it exploded after hitting a sea mine. And guess what? She survived again. The logic is a magnetic attraction to disaster. Violet seemingly had an anti-sinking protocol installed in her body. Your POV, you see the ship you are on beginning to sink, but you remain calm because you see Violet Jessop casually swimming next to you. Violet dictates our logic that some people are simply designed to be eyewitnesses to repeated systemic failures. Gym twins, the genetic hard coding protocol. Identical twins were separated at birth and adopted by different families. Both were named James by their adoptive parents without either knowing. When they met 39 years later, they realized their lives were a mirroring. Both had first wives named Linda, divorced, and then remarried second wives named Betty. Both had sons named James Allen. Both had dogs named Toy. Both smoked the same brand, drank the same beer, and owned the same car. The logic is genetic determinism. Your POV, you feel free to determine your life choices, when in fact, your choices were hard-coded into your DNA. The Gym twins prove that free choice is often just an illusion of a running biological algorithm. Robert Lincoln, the presidential bad omen protocol. Abraham Lincoln's son, Robert Todd Lincoln, had a very peculiar fate. He was at his father's side when the president died after being shot. In 1881, he was coincidentally at the train station when President James Garfield was shot. In 1901, he was invited to the Pan American Exposition and was present exactly when President William McKinley was shot. The logic is coincidence saturation. After the third incident, Robert refused all presidential invitations because he realized he was a jinx to presidential security protocols. Your POV, you are the President of the United States and see Robert Lincoln walking towards you. Your logic would say, okay, time for me to wear a bulletproof vest. Robert is a reminder that there are individuals who are systemically present at the crucial points of historical destruction. The Erdington Case, the 157-year loop protocol. In 1817, Mary Ashford was found dead in Erdington, England on May 27th, Whit Monday. She was 20 years old, raped and murdered at the same spot after celebrating at a party. The suspect was named Thornton but was acquitted. In 1974, exactly 157 years later, a girl named Barbara Forrest was found dead in Erdington on May 27th, Whit Monday. She was 20 years old, raped and murdered at the same exact spot after celebrating at a party. The suspect? His name was Childs Thornton. The logic is a spatio-temporal echo. Your POV, you are the detective handling the 1974 case and feel as if you are reading the case file from 1817. This is a coincidence so identical it feels like the Earth is experiencing lag and repeating the same event at the same coordinates. Tamerlane's curse, the don't open the box protocol. Tamerlane was a ruthless conqueror from Central Asia. On his tomb it was written, "Whosoever opens my tomb will unleash a conqueror torrible than I." On June 19, 1941, Soviet archaeologists opened the tomb despite the prohibitions of the locals. 2 days later, on June 21, 1941, Adolf Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa, the largest invasion in history against the Soviet Union. The logic is the butterfly effect. Your POV, you are the archaeologist who just lifted the coffin lid, and suddenly millions of Nazi soldiers invade your country. Although science calls this a coincidence, the synchronization of timing provides a powerful moral message. Some system commands from the past are best left undisturbed if you don't want to encounter a lethal error. Richard Parker, the unlucky name protocol. In 1838, Edgar Allan Poe wrote a novel about 4 sailors stranded in a lifeboat who were forced to eat a cabin boy named Richard Parker. In 1884, 46 years later, a ship named the Mignonette sank. 4 sailors were stranded in a lifeboat. Due to starvation, they were forced to kill and eat one of their cabin boys. And guess what the cabin boy's name was? Richard Parker. The logic is a creative prophecy glitch. Your POV, you are a sailor named Richard Parker reading Poe's novel, and suddenly your ship sinks. This is the peak of historical coincidence, proving that names and destinies are sometimes bound in a very terrifying code. So, what is the common thread of these 10 historical coincidences? Logically, our universe is a vast system, and in a vast system, anomalies are an inevitability. Historical order is often just a thin layer over an incredible chaos of probability. Understanding these coincidences isn't meant to make you a conspiracy theorist, but to make you realize the reality we consider solid actually has many gaps and surprises that not even the most logical human reasoning can explain. Thank you for watching until the end. If you like how we explain complex things to make them make more sense, don't forget to follow Synoptic. We will continue to discuss many everyday things that are actually fascinating, as long as they're explained the right way. Synoptic, the world simplified, one thought at a time.